jump right in. So this presentation is called Building the Right Features. It's about customer usability testing or an obsession with customer success. A little bit about myself. I am the CEO in CodeBuddy. I've been doing startups for about 24 years. I've done 3 software companies and raised about $27 million in capital. We came from the federal law enforcement space, so we were doing wiretapping software for companies like the FBI, HSI, Secret Service. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship at Nebraska Wesleyan University. I've got my law degree, full stack developer. And so, I want to step back in a little bit and talk about, why this presentation is so important to me. So my first company that I started with was called Scoutsheet. It was about 12 years ago. Very cool company. We were doing really early machine learning stuff, scraping the internet, using natural language parsing to figure out, people and organizations and addresses and linking them all together. It looked like this Jason Bourne map of how to connect people. And we had really great success selling this, but we had a big problem with users using this, and a big problem with churn, and a big problem with users like referring us to other users. And eventually we exited the company. We sold the technology to Info Group, one of the largest info technology companies in the United States. Weren't able to, do anything with our platform. We had to close the platform down. We did some exit surveys on it, and the main feedback we got was, this is really cool, but I had no idea how to use this at all. And so sitting with a good buddy of mine, Matan Gill, a successful entrepreneur, exited his company, LiveBy, talking about the problem. And he said, well, what was your usability testing telling you? And I said, usability testing, what? And he said, yeah, your usability testing, and we had no idea, we thought we were some like omniscient, like superpower that would always know all the customers. Took the concept of usability testing in our second 2 companies, had a successful exit, and are now working on CodeBuddy, where we've done over 14 rounds. So why usability testing matters is that I think these 3 great statistics really cover it, is that 88% of users will never return to a software if they've had a poor experience, and 91% will never even tell you that they have a poor experience. So you go into your software and you're really clueless of like what is actually going on with the user base, regardless of if you're checking in with them on emails, or, you've got beta customers. And then this last one is every $1 invested in usability testing returns $100 to profitability. So why is getting feedbacks from customers so difficult? And we really pin it down to these 3 main areas. And yes, I have a lot of text on here. If you were to usability test my slides, I would get horrible feedback on these slides. But the reason there's so much text is because we're going to send these slides out to you. And if you want to share these or reference them, you'll have the text. But basically, 3 main areas of why usability testing is really hard. The first one is that, customers are horrible at predicting the future. We'll go into this in the next slide. Also, customers are afraid to say the truth, and customers only know what they've experienced. So there are many ways to test and get feedback from customers. We're going to do the main spotlight on usability testing here.
I'm going to go get Carson and DM, okay?
Oh, someone came off mute. No worries.
That's okay. The first one, customers are horrible at predicting the future. So say if Lucas and I are sitting down at a coffee shop, and I'm trying to sell Lucas my hot chocolate brand, and I give Lucas my hot chocolate, and I say, Lucas, do you like this? And he said, yes, this is fantastic hot chocolate. And I said, Lucas, will you buy this? And he said, yes, I'd love to buy your hot chocolate. So I asked him 2 things like entrepreneurs always like to do when we're validating is, do you like this, and will you buy this? And those are the 2 worst things that you can ever ask someone. So Lucas, after sitting with me, goes up to the coffee counter, goes to the barista and say, hey, can I get a coffee? And I run up to Lucas and I'm like, what the hell, man? You just told me you would buy my hot chocolate. Why did you buy a coffee? And he's like, well, I like coffee better. Now, if I had rephrased that experience and said to Lucas, hey, Lucas, what do you hate in terms of, hot drinks? And if he said, I hate hot chocolate, I would have known immediately that he wouldn't have wanted to buy my hot chocolate. Or if I said, hey, Lucas, what are out of the last 10 times you went up to the counter and bought a hot drink, what did you buy? And he'd probably tell me, well, I'd, buy coffee 9 times, and maybe once in a while I'd buy a hot chocolate. And so by rephrasing those conversations to two things, what does he hate and what has he done in the past, I got way more accurate information than asking him what he likes and what he's going to go do in the future. So remember, quick takeaway, you can only trust what people hate and what they've done in the past. Next thing, psychological safety. Customers are super afraid to say the truth, especially if you're in the Midwest. We're in the Midwest region. We deal with a lot of companies in Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, South Dakota, and they're very friendly in our states, and they're very afraid to give you critical feedback. So I was at a coding conference the other week, and I was sitting in the audience getting ready for one of my talks, and the speaker asked me a question, and I gave him an answer, and it was a trick question. He said wrong, and I felt really stupid and ashamed. And what he did was he just set like a really bad tone on psychological safety for the environment that he was trying to portray. And after that, no one in the audience wanted to raise their hand or give any feedback to what he was talking. So the most important thing is that when you are working with customers and even your own internal staff is you have to set a tone for psychological safety. And this is a really tough thing, but you really have to follow, what you're telling them and really making sure that they feel safe to speak up, ask questions, take risks. We'll share some examples of how to do this a little bit later on in the presentation too as well. And then the third thing, customers only know what they've experienced. So I'm sure you've heard this quote before that if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And this is supposedly a Henry Ford quote talking about like the customer doesn't even know what they want. You have to tell them what they want. But the reality is that this is a completely made up quote. Henry Ford never actually said this quote. Henry Ford didn't even invent the automobile. He just invented a better way to mass produce the automobile. And so one of the things that we're really strong about is, yes, you have to obsessively listen to the customer, but then you also have to ignore them sometimes and do what's best. So software and entrepreneurship is a combination of small iterative improvements on existing technologies, but then also big leaps and jumps in technology and doing what people have never even seen before. So I want to talk about the different types of testing. So there's many types of testing. I'm not going to go over all of these, but one thing that we've always seen, and then I always really tell my students too as well, is there's different tests are appropriate for different stages of your company. So early on, maybe you're really early stage into your organization, you'll see a lot of people sending out these massive surveys. And I always tell them that's a bad idea. Because really on in your company, you're not even going to know what questions to ask people. And if you send out a survey with 10 questions, but then a day later you realize you should have asked them 10 different questions, that's not going to really help you. So what we always encourage, and this is what really drills into my talk about usability at interviews, is that early on, all you really need to do is interview about 3 to 5 people consistently and regularly. Because the statistics say that within 3 to 5 people, you'll be able to gather 86% of the patterns within what you're trying to do. And that's not just 3 to 5 people at once. That's 3 to 5 people every week or every month or every quarter, depending on what you're trying to do. And then as you get later into your company, you can do more quantitative testings, which is more statistical based. Qualitative is more interviews, focus groups, customer shadowing. Quantitative testing is more like A/B testing, setting up surveys, surveying 1,000 people. One of the things that we're really strong about is having an insider app for our app too, which is a separate standalone app that allows us to track the metrics of what users are doing in our software too. So what is usability testing? Usability is pretty much the design of that a person of below average skill in your ideal customer profile can use without it being more trouble than it's worth. Apologize for reading from the slides, but and why a person of below average skill? Well, if you can see the bell curve on my slide here, and this is a representation of a person's skill. It's not binary. There's not, people aren't just either complete idiots or geniuses in the world. There's some of each, and then there's this really large bell curve in between. And if you test people of above average skill or domain experience in your knowledge, what you're going to be doing is you're only going to be building a software or technology for the top 20% of the actual user base. But if you test users of below average skill, then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating something that's both usable for customers of below average skill all the way up to customers of, extreme knowledge. And like I said, you only really need to test 3 to 5 individuals. People ask us a lot of time is how do you find these people to test? And remember, they need to be in your ICP. There's a lot of great ways. People are very willing to give time to help people out. So you can post it on social media. You can ask your friends. You guys are very lucky that you're in a cohort of like 300 to 500 people. You can post it on Circle. We've even gone to the lengths where we needed someone like in a very specific domain knowledge where we even posted it on like a freelancer site of like looking for someone. We try not to pay people, but sometimes we'll pay them $50 to usability test or whatnot. And this is the method. And we're going to do a really quick usability testing session here of the Founder U website, actually. But when you're doing the actual test, you do 3 to 5 tests, but in each individual test, it's only you and that one person. And so ideally, it's in person, but nowadays with the technology of screen sharing, you can do it virtually as long as you can see their face and you can see their screen. It's really important because a lot of what you gather is not from what they're saying and doing, it's actually watching their facial expressions. And so the next thing is you always want to record the session. And I'll get to later why it's really important to record the session, because it's not just going to be you that's going to be seeing this. You're going to send it off for your entire team to watch. Always want to begin from a script. I've got an example of a script here that I'll actually read while we're testing someone. And then you want them to think out loud. So you don't get any benefit from them just like scrolling around on your software and actually doing it. You want them literally like Lucas was calling it savaging. Like you want them to like, tear apart, be descriptive, like use cuss words. Like the more fun you can make it and the more like you can get them like emotionally engaged, the more value you're going to get out of it. And then also like you got to shut up and let them fail. And this is the hardest part. And this is where you really have to train yourself. And it takes a lot of practice, is that when you are testing your like baby, you're going to want to step in when they get stuck. And that's the worst thing you can do, because you only gain insight from them when they're failing. And because when they're failing, you can see where you need to improve. But if you're always stepping in to help them, you can't see where you need to improve. And lots of times it may take a couple seconds, but sometimes they will get around to finding that button that they need to find. But you got to give them the time. And it's super uncomfortable, but it's what you got to do. So Lucas, can you help me pick someone from the audience and give them presenter mode?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have folks raise their hands if they would like to be a volunteer. That will at least get us off the right step. Sequoia, you were up first, so we will go with you.
I love it.
Sounds good. What do you need me to do?
Hey Sequoia, how are you? If you could first open your browser to Google or and then share your screen. Make sure there's nothing sensitive on your screen.
Okay.
We always make sure to ask the interviewees to if they've got multiple screens, and also to tell them to make sure there's nothing sensitive on the screen. I can't tell you how many times we've been usability testing someone. When they sign up for a software, they always got to go check their email, and they will check their email, and there will be something embarrassing on their email list. And so we will literally have to like delete out usability sessions because they'll contact afterwards, and they're like, I can't let my boss see that. Not that we share it with anyone, but so yes, if you can go to just a Google page, share your screen. So I'm going to read the script, and then we'll go over the script a little bit afterwards. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to read the script to make sure I cover everything. Probably have a good idea why we asked you here, Sequoia, but I'll go over it again briefly. We're asking people to try a new software that we're working on to see whether it works as intended. Session should take about, in this case, it'll be 5 to 10 minutes. In most cases for usability testing, it's anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes that we're testing. First thing I want to make clear, Sequoia, right now is that we're testing this website. We're not testing you. So you can't do anything wrong here. In fact, this is probably the one place today where you don't have to worry about making any mistakes. This is how I'm establishing psychological safety with Sequoia right now. So as you use the site, I'm going to ask you as much as possible to try to think out loud, say what you're looking at, what you're trying to do, and what you're thinking. Feel free to use descriptive adjectives. This will be a big help to us. Most importantly, don't worry that you're going to hurt our feelings, or in this case, Corinne's feelings, who did the site that we're testing. We're doing this to improve the website, so we need to hear your honest reactions. If you have any questions as we go along, just ask them. I may not be able to answer them right away since we're interested in seeing how you do when you don't have someone like me sitting next to you, but I will write them down, and when we're done, I'll answer them. If you need to take a break at any point, just let me know. This is a very informal session. And you may have noticed the microphone. With your permission, we're going to record what happens on the screen in the conversation. Recording will only be used to help us figure out how to improve the software and will only be seen by a couple other team members on this project. Is that okay if we record this?
Yes.
Perfect. We're already recording here. So do you have any questions so far?
No.
No. Okay. Before we look at the site, I normally would ask you a couple questions just to make sure you fit into our ICP. I'd say, hey, are you a founder, Sequoia?
Yes.
And are you looking for, an organization that could help you grow your company?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to give you a task here. Before taking the action on the task, tell me what you see, what you expect to happen, and after you take that action, how did it meet your expectations? Don't worry about forgetting these points. I will constantly remind you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. So your first task is I want you to just navigate to the Founder University website and apply to their program for me. All right, perfect. So I'm going to stop you here. So again, before you take any action, I'd love for you to show me what you see here, what you expect things to do, and then go ahead and organically just do whatever you want to do.
Okay, so the apply button is super obvious. I like that it's prominent on the page. I don't love this design. I think it's a little muted for me. I like bright colors, so maybe that's why. And the font gets lost a little bit. But again, if I'm just applying, the purpose is served. The apply button is right here, so I'd go hit it.
So say if you didn't know anything about the Founder University, would you take a second to look over the site before you
Yeah.
hit the apply button? Okay, let's pretend that. Let's pretend you don't know anything about this program before you want to apply.
Okay, so this is bold, so this stands out and it's on a white, like clear background, so I can read this very easily. This gets lost a little bit. Um, yeah, it just feels a little dated to me. So I'd be like, is this a up-to-date program? Um,
And
this,
tell me what you mean by outdated.
this
So
design.
what is
Yeah.
what is a design that doesn't look outdated to you?
Yeah, just a little bit more modern. I guess I'm so used to looking at like framer websites. So things coming in, transitions, fade ins, like all the things. So it just feels like one dimensional, if that makes sense.
So what I've heard so far is animation and color is a big
Exactly.
priority to you. Okay,
Uh,
keep going.
um, this is super prominent. So I know who sponsors the program more than I understand what the program is about. Um,
I'm not going to complain about that one. Keep going.
Is that?
Don't
Uh,
hold back, Sequoia.
Yeah.
these are, they're not screaming to me, come join me. I don't know. There's just something about these that don't really resonate.
And tell me about that.
Maybe because of the way that the font is. Like the pictures are bolder than, again, it goes back to that like idea of like the pictures are super bold, but then the font's not, right? Or the messaging isn't. And that's the font size, maybe.
So you'd rather what they say stick out more than
Exactly.
the actual individuals.
But
Okay.
I'm looking at them, but I'm not like it's because it's wordy and it's not like popping out. I'm just kind of scrolling past it.
So possibly less words too, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's nothing in it that's making me go, ooh, let me jump into this program. Again, you guys have done a fabulous job with the sponsors or who you've worked with. Like these logos are bold and popping out at me, so those are good.
Does that, you said that with a little bit of sarcasm though, does that doesn't satisfy you?
No, it is. I feel
Okay,
like it's more prominent than the program itself. So,
gotcha. Okay.
um, this is good. Now I feel like I get to know what the program is. I feel like this should be at the like higher up.
Way up top. Okay. And tell
Yeah.
me about that.
Just design wise, it pops out more than this
Is
here.
it the design or what it's saying?
No, it's a design because
Okay.
here it gets lost in the sauce, kind of like it's like blended in.
Gotcha. So you're telling me that $125,000 check has nothing to do with it?
No, because I mean it says the same thing up top too, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm just giving you a hard time. Keep going.
Let me see. Yeah, I feel like if this tier or this section was up top, that would have gotten my attention faster than me having to see it way down here, if that makes sense.
Cool.
And then again, like it got better as I scrolled down. I feel
Nice.
like the bottom half of the website should just go to the top, right? Because now all the prominent names, A16Z, YC, Forum, like I know those brands, so they would attract me faster. Um, what you can accomplish. Okay, this stuff is good. Uh, too much text. Like I needed to pop out faster. I think because as I read, I don't want to sit and read. Like I just want to kind of scan it. And because
Yep.
it requires me to actually read, I
Yep.
just don't want to do it.
Yep.
And then this is standard FAQ stuff.
Perfect. So normally I'd let you keep going. Let's jump in, go ahead and apply.
Okay, perfect.
And so, yeah, what did you expect when you hit that apply button?
This, an apply
This,
form. Yeah.
and a form. Okay, perfect. So it
Mhm.
met your expectations.
Yes.
Okay, tell me what you see here before you take action.
So immediately what pops out for me is just the begin the application button. I would like this to be a little bolder. See, like it gets bold when I roll over it. I'd like it to be bold as soon as I get on the page.
Gotcha.
This is a little congested for me. I just like spacing and just simplicity, I guess. Who's somebody's writing on the screen?
Oh, I'll look to remove that.
Should I keep going?
Yeah, you can go. We'll go a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and do the first part of the application. Let's see.
Okay, so the thing that triggers me immediately is this feels like a checkbox. So I don't know if I'm supposed to check this and then begin or should I just begin? So that's one thing for me. So immediately my intuition or inclination is to just click this, but then this wouldn't be here if I didn't need to click it, right? So like
Yep.
having opposing thoughts. So I'm gonna say click it and then get going. So yeah, that's that. And then all this stuff is easy because it's contrasting. So the black on the white is good. Yeah, this stuff is fine. Same thing with the button. I would want it that orange color to pop more.
Perfect. Why don't you go ahead and fill out a couple of the fields and let's
Okay.
see.
I'm one to like click and autofill it, but we're gonna do this the right way this time.
You would normally click an autofill?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And does it do the autofill for you correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Primary skill. I'd have to go pop over to get this. That's why I skipped it. Who writes my code? My co-founder.
So you'd have to pop, let's go back to that real quick. So you'd have to pop over to click that. So is that something you'd want in a section with other things that you'd have to go grab later, or how would you like that experience?
No, because I'm used to doing it, right? So
Okay.
every form, for whatever reason, no one's accomplished this. So I would have to just go over, grab it real quick.
Well, we created the click here button,
Oh, did
which
you?
opens up directly to your own page.
Uh,
Pay
s-
attention.
see,
We're right ahead.
I
Lucas
broke,
is violating one of the
I
principles
violated.
of usability testing. See how he's trying to help you out, though?
Yes,
It's a
yeah.
great example. So there is something there.
Which I did not even read.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Oh, that's
So how,
ingenious. Okay, there we
that's
go.
brilliant.
Yeah.
How could that have been more discoverable to you?
That's a good question. Because I got used to not reading the things that I didn't want to read, so I skipped over it. Maybe, oh, you know what? If it was in like a parenthesis next to here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So bigger,
Well, not
or
that, just in a parenthesis, like your LinkedIn parentheses, click here, parentheses.
yeah,
Uh,
gotcha,
because I've trained myself not to read this stuff, so I didn't want to read it.
gotcha. So the issue was you couldn't find it. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. Okay, let's scroll down a little more and we'll wrap up here in about a minute.
cool. Um, Again, didn't want to read it. I just said yes. I've trained myself just not to want to read the stuff that feels like it takes effort.
So then when you click the company details button, what do you expect that to do next?
Go to my another form for me to fill out the actual company's details.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, I've got more to go. CTO. He doesn't have one. See, now I've got to go find his. So that makes it a little bit more, but again, I'm used to doing that, so it's easier. So I'll jump
Gotcha.
over, I'll grab his real quick. Very cool.
Sweet.
And then let's do that. So again, I would want that the bolder orange just for my own sanity. But yeah, now we're here.
And did that do what you expected it to do?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sweet. Okay, we can
Mhm.
wrap up that. Thank you so
Perfect.
much for helping with that. Did you have any questions or observations, Sequoia?
I would, if I was making recommendations for this, I would pull the bolder stuff to the top of the fold so that I see it
Yeah,
immediately. But the rest flowed. I would just say that the little nuanced
yeah.
things where it's like the click here and things like that just make them more obvious or prevalent on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my.
So, so besides the Founder U thing, did you feel comfortable sharing, feedback on that, being critical on it?
So I have a little bit of a bias because my company does the same thing, but for physical
Gotcha.
products, so I'm used to it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't have an issue sharing. I will say with our customers, they don't like to do it with the person. So we
Yeah.
let them do the qualitative feedback on their own so they can just be as free as they want to be. Yeah, but I'm pretty honest, so I don't have any like reservations around that.
S- So you're saying that companies have benefited from having someone else do it so that they feel that third
Hmm.
party is
Yeah,
that's a great tool, yeah, as well. So, and a great strategy of finding someone else. So cool. Well, thank you for helping. I'm going to jump on to the next part of this. So
you.
And Sequoia, we will be implementing those changes. So this was really useful. This was awesome. I
Yes,
love the candid feedback.
very
so
helpful.
Good boy.
yes. So Founder you, tell me a little bit about what you learned from that exercise. Anything that surprised you, etc. Lucas or Corin.
Yeah, I think it was just helpful to kind of see the flow of someone walking through it and kind of what is actually going through their head. Because like you said, when you're building it yourself, you don't always think about those things. So super helpful and definitely will be implementing the feedback to make it more user friendly.
Yeah. And on
Sweet.
the form side, we just rolled out like probably like 2 months ago this new form system. And so this was actually the first time that this was tested live without me doing like a test, company profile thing. So it was great to see the external perspective.
Very cool. Very cool. So, is my screen sharing again? Everyone
Yeah.
can see that? Cool. So you see, I did the script. I'm not going to go over the whole script again. You heard me read it, but we had the instructions to establish psychological safety. We had the questions to make sure that they fit in with our ICP. We demonstrated the process. The three most key things being before you let them take action, ask them about that action. Because once they take action, they're already biased to know what it was meant to do and what it actually did. And so they're not going to want to go back and sound like they were stupid and that they thought it was going to do something else. And then we've got, assigning the tasks. You can be as, strict or free-flowing on the tasks, probing them for questions, wrapping up, and then always make sure to thank them too as well. A lot of times what we've learned, and we'll talk about this a little later, is that these usability testers become your first customers. So always make sure to establish a good relationship with them. It's all about co-creation. And then the last thing is the therapist mindset. So this is the most important thing to do as the interviewer with what you're doing, is making sure you're establishing a trusting environment. It's like going to your therapist and your therapist never answers any questions you ever ask the therapist. They always just probe the questions out of you to get to that experience too. So we've got some ways to answer specific questions. Like, it will be uncomfortable. It sounded like Sequoia had some experience with this. I've done this probably 100 times. So I'm really good at letting them just kind of fail and uncomfortable. There wasn't a lot of failure there. When it really gets to failures is when you're testing out software and something just completely goes wrong and breaks. And then after the interview, this is part 2 of the usability testing process, which is post the recording. And so take the recording, you recorded it, share it with your entire team, and you're going to want to give your team deadline for feedback. So this is where it becomes sort of a democratic way of doing usability testing. We'll talk about why it's a democracy instead of a dictatorship. But give them deadlines of feedback. What we typically do is we ask for from each person in the organization, whether it's the finance person, the marketing person, we ask for 3 to 5 little small things that we can do that the user got stuck with, such as maybe just changing the contrast of that page, or moving up that section to the top of the page, or changing the copy of a button or the color of a button. And then we also ask for 3 to 5 large issues. And these are the monumental things of hey, let's rip it all down and let's build something completely different, or let's build a whole new feature that we haven't even touched here as well. So we talked about, entrepreneurship and innovation is a combination of small iterative improvements plus large leaps in technology. So giving your team the ability to give that big feedback. And also what we stress with our team too as well is that they don't have to give feedback based on the usability test. If there's something that's been bugging them about the website or the software or the product that you're building, they're welcome to use that as an opportunity to present this. They do have to watch the usability testing, but after that, they can vote on whatever they want. And then make sure that they present the problems, not issues too. So people will like to jump forward and say, hey, Sequoia got stuck on this. Let's just push this up into the top of the page. But the reality is that there could be 20 different solutions to that problem. And so if you get really prescriptive in the solutions early on, you don't give your team an opportunity to take a step back and discuss many different ways that you could solve that same issue. The visionary compiles that data, and then there's an opportunity to turn those issues into solutions. Some organizations have one person do that. Some organizations get the whole team back and talk about the problems and turn them into solutions, and then repeat it. And ideally, you do it once every month. So you schedule 1 day of the month, find 3 to 5 people to do that testing. Like I said, 86% of user issues can be discovered with just 3 people, and repeat it. Some people do it more than once a month. Some people that have fewer resources, or maybe they're moonlighting and so they're not full-time yet, will do it once a quarter. And again, why include the whole team? Normally, you just have one visionary or one UI UX person that gets to make all the decisions in your product. It's that in an organization, there are conflicts of interest. So every person in the organization, whether it's human resources, marketing, engineering, sales, accounting, all have a value to add to the organization. They all see the organization through a different lens or a different perspective. And giving them the ability to make comments on the usability testing helps to make sure that you truly encompass all that needs to be done to make your company successful. Some decisions will weigh more heavily on, the cost of the decision. So finance and admin will have a stronger say. Some decisions will weigh more heavily on the marketing, what it looks like. Some on the sales, how it's easier to sell. Some will be very engineering driven. They'll be like, well, this is really hard to do. This is really easy to do. By engaging all departments, you get a much better end result. And then the kind of side benefit of engaging the entire department too as well is that you get much higher employee engagement. When your employees feel that you care about their voice and about the direction of the company and the product, they're more likely to stick within your organization. Never too early to start too as well. So a lot of you might think, well, we don't even have a product to test, or we don't even have a marketing site to test. I can't start and do this. And so I've got 4 different ways that you can kind of start earlier than later. Plus, obviously, we talked about you can get a marketing site up there and test the marketing site with your sales pitch before you even go and build something. But the first one is, has anybody heard about the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? And that is not a joke, but there's this legendary muffin salesperson that that wanted to sell muffins, and so he got into his bike with a basket of muffins, and he drove around town, and he had a sign on his basket that said, muffins $5 or muffins $10, and he drove to all these different parts of town, and he would scream muffins for sale, saying, different messages, all these sorts of things, and people would come up and they would buy a muffin, and he would open his basket, reach into the basket, and he'd be like, oh, sorry, I must have just sold out of my last muffin last time. The dude never had any muffins to sell, but what he was trying to do is he was trying to go around and establish where are the best places I can sell my muffins, what is the best messaging that I can sell my muffins, what is the best pricing of the muffins. So again, you can always do stuff to validate and usability test prior to even spending $1 on any type of product. And competitor usability testing. The other thing is you can always go out and you can test your competitor solutions. You can do the exact same thing I did with Sequoia, but go to competitors. Lucas could go and, test some other, accelerator, or website or something, and see where are they really struggling on the bus? How are people reacting to their sites as well? So. And then Wizard of Oz testing. So I'm sure many of you have heard of this term before. My favorite story is the Zappos story, where Zappos got started literally creating a WordPress site, and they would go to physical shoe stores that they didn't own, and they would take pictures of shoes and post them on the website. And then when someone ordered from their website, they'd have to drive back to the shoe store, drive to FedEx, ship the shoes. That person would return a size. They would go back to the store, get the right size, ship back the right size. And they actually lost a ton of money on doing that. But what they did was they were able to validate $1 billion business. So what are things that you can do, automatically, and then have them manually supported by a human in the back end? Because early on, when you only have a few customers, you don't need to have every single thing automated in your actual program. And by holding off and doing some of that manually, you can better understand how you need to automate some of those processes. And then video landing page. This is a very simple one. This is how Dropbox got started. So they actually weren't able to have people do free trials or sign on to their actual tool. So they just posted a video of them on their computer. You can actually, here's the original video from way back into the date, showing how they could share files from one computer to the other computer. And they were they said, send us your feedback, add your name to the waiting list so that we can, you can be one of our first users. And that's how they really validated what they're doing. So that is kind of my talk on usability testing. Wanted to also open it up for questions, but then first take a second to talk about the CodeBuddy offering too as well, if that's okay, Lucas.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So many of you know CodeBuddy, we're a full AI software development studio. This is one of the reasons we're big on usability testing, because we've built over 2,800 apps now in our tool, and we're really strong on our users going out and not just building, but also testing the app, those apps too as well. Here's a little bit about our tool, but I also just have kind of a live demo of what we do here. And so we are big about helping less technical founders build software they can rely on, or in other words, enterprise quality software. What's different than us than a lot of the other tools out there is we are more spec-driven development, other than vibe coding, and we're not just a wrapper on an IDE. We are a full software tool. Here's an existing software that we built for someone. It's called Smart Swipe. This was actually just an investor wanted us to create a really sample app for them, and so we created this app where they can add all their cards, all their credit cards, and they can talk to it and say, I want to plan a trip to New York City. What card should I use? And it will dictate that, and it will go out and select which card. Oh, sorry, I stopped running it. It uses AI to go and select which card it should actually use, and then prompts that back. I can run it again when it's actually running. But how that starts, though, in our program is we've got tools where users can actually go in and they can plan what they want to build in their app. So let me pull up I've got a pre one. So say here I want to add a new workflow in my app for uploading a picture of that credit card to my list. And our tool, it's called Ride by CodeBuddy, will actually go and implement those, or help plan out and implement those workflows. It'll ask me questions. I'm just going to say this is for demo purposes. Just implement. And then it will take, once it has enough detail on what I've actually built out, it will go and it will start breaking those down into several different things. The first thing is workflows. So it will define the user stories for me, the acceptance criteria that my developers need to create, and I can respond back to it. I can accept it. It will also define new resources that I need to create for it. It will define the user types. It will define the definitions of my app. And like I said, the resources here. So this all builds a really strong system context and user context around the software that I'm going to build. You can spend hours in this planning tool. I'm not going to for this purpose. You can go and download a free trial. And then we've got a Founder University program too, where you can get credits, and you can actually get a free developer to coach you in using Ride 2 as well if you want to get more technical. But here's where I can go out and I can actually plan the tasks that we're working on, and it uses AI from a more technical developer perspective to help plan those specific tasks. And you'll see it'll actually break down to them with more developer-centric terminology. I can accept those tasks. I can go in and I can start developing the app here. It has all knowledge of all the software planning that I'm doing, all the task planning. I can run the tools here, and then I can start programming it. So I can say, yes, proceed. And it will, like I said, it's not vibe coding, it's spec-driven development. So it will pop up every single code change that it wants to make for you here. And it will allow you to either approve or modify those code changes. You can see now it's running. So I want to plan a trip to Mexico. Which card should I use? So now it's running in the background. So there it goes. So it's giving me my recommendations. It's going and reading all my files. Here, let's see if we can do a quick example of a change. It's going to ask me questions. I'm just going to kind of vibe code it in a sense, even though that's not our style for demo purposes. Let me see if I can, yeah, here it goes. So now it's going to pop up a suggested change for me. And so I can see that it's going to add a new contract that'll add a card image. I can respond back to it, say I didn't like that, or I can accept it. And if I go to my review, I can start seeing all my code changes. They'll just keep popping up after this. For time's sake, I'm not going to go through everything. And then the last thing is we manage the DevOps too as well. So when you're ready to push this to a live production, everything runs locally. We right now do only support Windows. We will be supporting Mac in a couple of weeks here. But it'll push to test, or you can create a production environment, and you can pick which branches get pushed out to those different environments. So quick demo of that. Now I want to open up to questions and answers either on usability testing or some of the stuff we're doing in AI, or literally any AI kind of coding questions too as well. How do
Awesome.
you, Lucas,
Yeah,
do you
we
want to
have
just
a
pick
bunch
some?
of questions that actually came through the Q&A. And
Okay.
I first of all just wanted to say, as someone that's been using a lot of the low code, no code, like this looks epic. So excited to get testing on that. And I was wondering, for those that are using Macs, like myself, can I use like a virtual machine and things to kind of go through that?
You can use, if you wanted to, put Parallels or Boot Camp on your Mac, or use a virtual machine that has a Windows host. We can connect you with virtual machines, or you can wait. There's not a ton we had to do to support Macs. It's just one of the things that's beneficial about our software is that you can do the whole process for free. You can build unlimited apps on your free local machine, and that's because it uses your local machine to run those machines. So we just have to do some slight modifications to make sure it does that same process on a Mac.
Super cool. All right. Well, I've opened up the tab for the Q&A, and for those that haven't posted questions and have questions, feel free to go in. And I also recommend for everyone to also upvote the questions that they see that are most relevant, and we'll get to those first. So to start things off, we have Ashwin, who asks, what techniques do you use to prioritize user feedback and figure out what features to work on next?
That's a great question. Let me pull up the slide. So if you'll remember, you don't really have to prioritize user feedback because it becomes a democratic process. So in the past, prioritizing, the next feature always became an argument or a discussion point because, someone was like, I think we should do this feature. I think we should do this feature. Now, when you do a process similar like this, you get the whole organization to vote on what they think the top 3 to 5 issues are, and then you combine all those votes together. And what you'll see is you'll see a lot of patterns in what people vote on. And the things get voted on the most by the whole organization are the things that you prioritize for your next sprint work. So you can really take it out of that like subjective argument and conversation over what it should be and make it more of like a democratic voting process.
Awesome. And actually, I have a follow-up to this question, which is, and this is very common across early stage startups, how do you prioritize user feedback versus customer feedback? So users are those that don't pay.
Yeah.
Customers are those that pay.
Yeah, that's a great question. I love that you guys distinguish those two terms, and I've been using that actually. I kind of stole that from you recently. So the challenge here is that customers are already using the program. And so you can't really use them for usability testing because they're already biased. They've already been into it. They've already used it. They've already probably, had customer support help them with a couple issues. So for usability testing, you really only want to go after someone that hasn't seen your system before, because you're going to get this really unbiased, like fresh new perspective on what they're doing. Now, that's saying, yes, obviously you still need to figure out a way to kind of mix customer issues with, the usability issues. But like I said, someone in the organization, all your employees in the organization, they don't have to vote necessarily on what they saw in the usability sessions. They're just required to watch them. But they are more than welcome to vote on things that are more customer-centric than user-centric from the usability sessions. So you could do this with customers, but you're going to get a little bit of a different, angle on it.
Awesome. So we'll go over to the next question from Theseus. How much would you trust AI in building solutions for UI UX or user friendliness for both websites or apps?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like I said, there's kind of two spectrums of AI. There's very like vibe coding, and then there's very, spec-driven development or just using AI as an assistant. And so we're very obviously we built Ride, our entire program, on using Ride itself. It almost builds itself. So we've been able to do it very successfully. One of the things that we found very successful, and we actually have a separate talk about this, is we call it retrospective design, where in traditional software, you'd have UI UX spend a lot of time building these like wonderful, like high resolution mockups. And then you would, once that's done, have the developer, execute on those mockups. What we do now is we give the developer the user stories and the acceptance criteria from Ride, and we have them actually build out the functionality first. And then we test that functionality with the user or the customer. And then we go back and we design it secondary. And it sounds really weird. And if like you're a UI UX person, you're probably like cringing right now. But the reason that it helps is because it doesn't block developers early on. They don't have to wait for mockups to actually get going. You can actually test functionality earlier. And now with the advancement of AI, it makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker to make those changes. There's a lot less cost to going back in there and making UI UX changes than you had to previously. So I know I got a little off on that question, but I hope that helps.
No, awesome. And the next question comes from Jack. How many events do you track using PostHog or other analytical tools for software? And can data get to granular from tracking user journeys and flows?
Yeah, like I said, we try not to do, so you're really getting into like quantitative testing, which is a later on in the stage. We actually haven't used PostHog. I'd like to. What we do is we build an insider app that's a separate app. We actually build it in Ride 2 that has access to our database and all of the events that are happening in our app. And then we build out very specific modules in that insider app based off of like the functional needs that we as an organization have. For like an example of those is we want to know who the most engaged users are in our system. So we built out a specific module to actually go and, we told it what engagement looks like. And then it literally goes out, finds the most engaged users, and then lists them. And then our sales team uses that, and our product support team uses that to really figure out who are the most successful users and then who are the least successful users and what are the patterns within those. And sometimes they have to actually reach out and figure out what it is about those people. But if you don't do that type of like analytics, you don't even know if people are using it and who are the most engaged users and who are the least engaged users. We also use the Insider app for a ton of other things. So.
Awesome. And our next question comes from Adviet. How do you become a muffin man without being spammy?
That's a great question. So modern day muffin man, some of the best tactics I've used are like fake feature stubs. So like create a marketing site or in your software, create buttons that don't actually do anything, but they pop up like dialogues that say, hey, this feature doesn't quite exist yet, but if you'd like to add your name to a waiting list, please do so here. So there's a lot of ways that instead of you like having to reach out and be like outbound aggressive, that you can market your product or your website, have people come to it, and then see what are the things that they actually click on, and then use those things as testing to determine where you should go. Like you could have the same product and you could give it two different pricing tiers and see which one someone clicks on. Or you could have a new feature that you want to build, but you're not sure if you should invest in it. And so you have a fake stub button that says click here to do this feature, and then they click on it and say it pops up a dialogue and says this only exists for beta customers. Please add your name to this list if you want to be considered a beta customer to get access to this. And like it goes back to that talk of that whoever the talk dating app, I forget her name, but she talked about it of a lot of people will think that it exists and will want to be on that waiting list, but it may not even exist. So
yeah, and in a similar kind of thread, so we have François who asks, would love to see what is the best way of inviting existing customers, more than 800 to date, to provide feedback or join a call. What kind of incentives have you used in the past?
Existing customers. I don't know if you're talking about a focus group, which we haven't heard great things about doing like big focus groups. I think, you either have to either be tracking the analytics like we just talked about, having tools to figure out to kind of track them, I know Clarity just changed, but we used Clarity for a while to like watch users and see what they did. Or you just have to contact them individually and have kind of surveys with them. And like I said, you got to be, well, I guess if they're actually using it, you can ask them more questions on what they like about it. And then if they're, just a plain old user. But yeah, I don't have a great answer for that other than I'd be careful with focus groups. We've heard a lot of people, that haven't had success with focus groups because the individuals will like influence the other individuals' comments and stuff. So I'd probably do direct interviews or track them via some sort of analytics.
Nice. And our next question comes from Kaon. Do you think founders should raise money, even in small investments, before launching their products?
Well, that really depends. So I'll tell you our story. So this was our third company, and we were all developers, and we chose to moonlight our business for 2 years, just working nights and weekends before we even went full time. And so after 2 years, we had like a working project. We ended up scrapping most of it, but it allowed us to get to like the better product market fit. And then we used a program like Launch to take us full time. So that got us our first, first cash in. And then they introduced us to all of our existing investors. We were able to close our first round in like 4 weeks. So I would, you can, but I always try to take money, I try to take money and build product at the last responsible moment. And we showed you some suggestions for how to test before you build here. And then, yeah, if you can moonlight, if you can, bootstrap it, if you can, go and find free money. There's a lot of grants there that'll give you free money without taking any equity as well. And then I'm a big fan of programs like Founder U and accelerators like Launch.
Awesome. I am too. And our next question, I want to be mindful of your time. I know that we are over. Are you okay for a few more?
I've got a couple of minutes if people are still engaged. I know attention starts to wane.
Yeah.
And
I think, this is a really important topic. So we have Theseus that asks, from personal experience, when a user asks for a feature and you implement it, but you don't see the users actually using it, other than 2 or 3 users, would you keep it or focus on cohort features instead?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good point. Like we said, it's hard to trust what people actually say. We go back to that, one of the early projection bias things that they may think that they need something, but they may not even think that may not even be correct. And then also, I didn't talk to it, but we are huge fans of addition by subtraction. So if there's something in your software that is bloating it, uh, like rip it out and figure out how to do it better. Um, so
Awesome. We'll do two more questions. All right, so Todd's question. Are there any unique nuances to usability testing when it pertains to B2B platforms rather than B2C, aside from the obvious like testing and testers that are fitting the ICP?
no, I mean, not really. What I would say, I'll share one of my favorite last slides too as well, is uh, is this Pitbull quote, which is ask for money and get advice, ask for advice and get money twice. Um, what we found too, especially with like B2B, where it's a harder like market to penetrate and you got a lot more like gatekeepers when you're doing sales, is use usability testing as a sales technique. So instead of asking them, hey, can I sell my product to you? You say, hey, uh, we're building something new. It's awesome. We were wondering if you could just test it for us and give us feedback. And like you will get like crickets when you ask to sell something to someone, but you will get people like wanting to help you out when you ask them just for feedback. Because what feedback is to them is there's no commitment on their end to actually do anything after this meeting other than to help out someone that really needs help. And especially like in our region, people love helping out. It gives them access to the product. It gives you like half an hour to an hour with them to get like visibility on your product, and it gives you the ability to hear their feedback and turn their feedback into co-creation and new features into the product. And then a lot of times they're like, "Wow, like I didn't know what to expect, but this is like pretty awesome. Like, how do we sign up?" And so you'll get a lot of like early customers from usability testing as well. And it allows you to do more reps on usability testing if you're treating it, kind of almost like I don't want to call it sales, but like call it co-creation type business development growth.
Awesome. And I guess we will finish it off with Max's question. Is there a list of proven questions for this type of interview or ready-made sample internal handbooks you could share?
A list of proven questions to ask the person you're interviewing. Is that correct?
I believe that's what Max is. Yeah.
Not really. So use this script or take this script and create a modification. And then the questions that like you're usually asking them, you want to ask them some questions early on to like, we always like to ask a question before they learn about what we're doing to ask them about their biggest problems. Because once you tell them about what you're doing, they're going to be biased to respond to what you're doing. You could be creating an app for like helping people save time, and the reality is they didn't need help saving time. They needed help like you know saving money or something like completely different. So we always try to like ask them some big like what are your biggest challenges before we lead them on what we're doing, and then making sure they fit our ICP validation. And then sometimes, like we said, we like to throw them off. So if we're building like an app for something, we'll ask them questions about something completely unrelated just to like throw their mind off so that they don't like think they can't tell where we're going, because once they tell where we're going, they're going to be conditioned to be biased to wanting to please us and like accept what we have to offer them. And then the questions as you're going along, you just have to kind of go down the rabbit hole with them. And that's the beauty of usability testing versus doing surveys, is if they want to go down this like rabbit hole, like go with them, because that rabbit hole might become something super valuable. It might be your next feature. It might be your biggest problem that you should be solving that you would have never even known to ask about.
No, this is great. And thank you so much, Devin, for taking the time and also for being such an amazing partner of Founder University. Without, partners like you, we would not be able to provide everything and all of our team to be fully involved with the cohort. I'd like to provide or have everyone come off mute that are still here. We still have a huge amount of participants to thank Devin for this great session.
Thank you, Devin.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you.
It was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Gracias.